I'm a paying member of Clapton Community FC, which is a local team to where I live in East London, known for their politics and their garish
I follow
Spanish
them.
revolutionary shirts. I was going to wear the shirt today, but I figured it would be too bright for this.
They got a big, a big Free Palestine thing going on right now, right?
They're not allowed to talk about that.
Okay. Well, we won't dig into it much, but I did want to ask you. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Absolute Worldy. I'm Andy Haynes. We got quite the show for you today. A real treat of a guest and my usual co-homies, Rudy Crown, Juan Aguilar. How are you doing, guys? Is Miami treating you guys muy bueno?
Yeah, weather's been great lately. Inter Miami plays playoffs. Start this Friday, which is awesome.
League, right? Sorry, I had to.
What's a Disney League?
I make fun of the MLS on this.
League, Cristiano Ronaldo's league or MLS?
I mean, here's the thing. You can't call the Saudi Arabian League the Disney League because there's too much blood on their hands. It's a little too violent.
Don't act like Mickey Mouse hasn't had.
Yeah, don't act like Disney doesn't have either.
Hey,
It could be the Aladdin League, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can say
He's allowed to say that. Everybody, welcome to the show.
I'm about to get deported by Stephen Miller for wrong think, so I can say what I want now.
Yeah. Well, you have some kind of card, right? That
Multiple cards.
Beautiful,
depends how I'm feeling.
That beautiful accent you hear is our guest today, Reda Maher. Am I saying it right? Is it Maher or Maher?
It can, however you want to say it, babe.
Well,
it's Maher.
Welcome to the show.
Technically, it's Maher, but I take Mahar. I don't give a shit.
Okay, Maher.
Yeah.
I'll try to say that, but I'm going to mess it up every time.
Yeah, exactly. Just call me Mayor. It makes me sound
the mayor of Reda Town.
Yeah.
Everybody, welcome him to the show. He is the former head of programming at DAZN.
Not quite. Head of publishing.
Head of publishing?
Yeah. Programming would imply that I know how video works.
Oh, okay. Well, he's got quite a... I meant to look at your LinkedIn page to kind of get all of your accolades, but you've worked in football and sports media for a long time, including not just football, but like MMA, pro wrestling, boxing, kind of the whole gambit.
Boxing. I don't really count MMA as a sport, sort of cracker barrel kung fu, as I call it. But boxing mostly. Yeah. Yeah, the gloves are off.
Whoa. All right. Our
How do you sell?
are going to be pissed.
I mostly worked in soccer, boxing, and tennis over the years, and there've been too many years.
What team do you follow?
I support Fulham, which is quaint, which is not a cuss word in my country. But yeah, we're kind of good, but shit, which is the best way to be. You don't want to be too good. You want to be like Andy, like a glory hunting Arsenal supporter who
lives
in North London.
Well, both of them are Spurs fans, so what do you call that?
Sad. No. It's great. Spurs. I have an unreasonable and irrational hatred of Spurs based around classmates at high school being dicks. So I always take Arsenal's side in these matters. Yeah.
Childhood trauma is a real thing, and we don't support that on this podcast, right, Andy? No bullying on this podcast.
No bullying. This is an anti-bully space. It's a safe space.
Spurs are fun, though. I'd rather be fun than always come second.
True. It's painful. What was it last year? Did you say 17th or 16th?
We're 17th.
I'm putting down the gun, and we can just all be friends here. But Fulham, you guys should be really grateful to Arsenal for Emile Smith-Rowe, and is it... Who else? You guys have...
Iwobi, and quite a few of our players were youth team players at Arsenal, but people don't necessarily know that. Smith-Rowe is a funny one, though. He's kind of gone off the boil quite badly. Sort of lukewarm now.
I feel like he's like the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain of his era. Like, huge promise. Injury
prone, very shy. I hear that one of the issues is that he's quite introverted and shy. Yeah. It's a really, really good comparison. Similar sort of player. The Ox probably quicker, but I'd say Smith-Rowe more creative, more guile. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where he's quite a shy, reserved player. A lot of the younger players can be, not maybe as sociable or gregarious as previous generations. And I don't know if Silva is necessarily getting the best out of him that way. He's quite stern, Marco Silva. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with.
You guys got somebody else. You got Miles. No, what's his name? The guy who scored that rocket last year. I really liked him. He was part of that trade. Sorry, this is really bad journalism or hosting.
You have to. I'm in my late 40s, so I need more guidance.
I will find out who it is. Did you watch games this weekend? Did you pay attention to Fulham?
I did, and we did that thing that we normally do against Arsenal, which is play really manfully and lose by one late goal. Fairly typical. I thought you guys looked great, I hate to say, and even better last night.
Yeah.
I was
kind of have a striker. Who'd have thought having an actual real striker might make an impact regardless of how many goals he does or doesn't score?
I know. It's weird because looking at your guys' game on Saturday, I was kind of like, well, that's not that great of a result against we should do better as like the Arsenal against Fulham. No offense. And then last night it was just like, oh, okay, we are doing pretty damn good. So that was cool.
Fulham are generally quite hard to beat. And when we lose against these, but we often raise our game slightly against the bigger teams. And when we do lose, which is typically we do lose to the bigger teams, it's rarely more than 1 or 2 goals in it. But yeah, you looked phenomenal last night, kind of almost scary. Uncovering that new thing of set pieces.
Against Atletico too.
Technique of corners, yeah. Never too sure about Atletico. They have the ability to be absolutely abysmal and then brilliant within the space of 2 weeks.
What has it always been the Premier League for you as your main league that you covered, or did you kind of move around Europe?
Yeah, so I grew up in the UK, but I always watched foreign football. Egyptian heritage, so always had my eye on the Middle East and Africa, particularly African Cup of Nations. So I had a bit of expertise in that. When I worked for Eurosport many years ago, they were the rights holder. They broadcast the African Cup of Nations across Europe. So I did quite a lot of that. I've lived in France and Spain and have covered those leagues. I'd say mostly English domestic football by virtue of like location, but I've covered pretty much everything. Even covered, not MLS, but Copa America when it was hosted here in 2016, which was good fun.
Do you have a second team? I noticed that a lot of British people have like a second or third team in the lower leagues. Do you have one?
Well, the thing is, Fulham was a lower league team. That's how I started supporting them. When I was a little kid, I supported Man United, which is disgusting, but, the folly of youth. We also lived up north, which is my vague excuse. But, from my early teens, I started going to watch Fulham because they were a local club to where I ended up growing up. We moved around a lot and then settled in West London. And you could go for £1, which is like $1, right? If you were under 14, it was the equivalent of $1. But we were in what was then called the 3rd, 4th division, now League Two. So we were at that end of the football pyramid. And it was only really when I was in my late teens when Fulham started getting promoted. And once we were in the Championship, we were in the Championship or League One? We had an FA Cup match against Man United, and that was when the switch flipped.
You had to pick.
Yeah, and I actively hate United now. I think they're a hilarious shambles of a club. So, like a fading empire. No offense, but
they kept Amarin his job for another couple weeks with this Liverpool win.
Yeah,
so
amazing. I love it. You hate to see it, but yeah, in terms, I do have. I like grassroots football, so I'm a paying member of Clapton Community FC, which is a local team to where I live in East London, known for their politics and their garish
I follow
Spanish
them.
revolutionary shirts. I was going to wear a shirt today, but I figured it would be too bright for this.
They got a big free Palestine thing going on right now, right?
They have. Yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Okay. Well, we won't dig into it much, but I did want to ask you.
I'm pretty sure Musk has bugged this laptop, so we can only be racist about some people.
Well, that brings me to my next question. I heard the big story that I was kind of interested in this week was the city of Birmingham banned, was it Maccabi Tel Aviv?
Haifa.
Whoa.
Haifa.
Yeah.
After their antics in Amsterdam last year.
Well, it's a really funny story, and I have quite a diverse group of friends back in the UK on various signal groups related to soccer. And one of them is a big Rangers fan, and also he's half Jewish, half Northern Irish. So he's picked the baddies on both sides. So it's all in very good humour. And his position was that Birmingham is an Islamist shithole, and that it's the fault of, I don't know, woke cops or something like that. Until
that's something that you never hear together.
I like to watch exactly. I like to watch the whites fight, and one of his other friends pointed out that Maccabi Haifa were like torching Arab-owned shops and beating bus drivers, and then claiming they were the victim of anti-Semitic attacks.
Juan, do you not know this story? Did you not?
No,
I have no clue. Is Last of Europa?
I think it's kind of. I think it's stupid. Let them come to Birmingham and let them get their asses whooped.
Yeah, I think the cops are being pussies. I think the cops are being pussies. But now they've pulled out. So they changed it so they could come to Birmingham now. The government's like, let them come to Birmingham. Maccabi Haifa have refused ticket allocation. Because I think they've realised that their fans... So at the weekend, there was a domestic game in Israel and their fans rioted against, I think, it might have been... Beitar Jerusalem or Maccabi. It was one of the other big Israeli teams who they have a rivalry. And I think the Maccabi Haifa board realised, our fans are a problem, because they are. Like in Amsterdam, it was 50. It was 50. Some of the local guys were kicking off with them. Classic European football hooliganism. We love to see it. But if you're a true Eastern European firm, which I think the Maccabi fans styled themselves and a lot of Israeli fans styled themselves as being, then you can't accuse the other side of racism afterwards. You have to.
That's true.
You take a beat, you take it on a chin like a Russian. You know what I mean? You go out there like a tough pole. Maybe you get it beat down, but you don't go around saying, these guys are... But that's sort of... it's kind of the Israeli playbook, isn't it? Like, be really aggressive and then claim to be the victim kind of thing.
Well, you know? I'm going to transition a little bit because I had a friend, we had a good question this weekend. Does the World Cup or like some of these teams protest about Israel competing in the World Cup? Like a Russia? Do we call them something else?
Well, there's a reason why Israel competes in the European section of qualifying and in UEFA at club level is because none of the Asian countries, or most of the Asian countries, refuse to allow them to participate in the Asian Confederation.
Right.
Because by location, they should either be competing in Asia or potentially Africa, because they're right next to Egypt, which is North Africa. So Egypt's like the end of Africa, right? And Sinai is contested often between Egypt and Israel. So you could make an argument that they'd compete in Africa, but then none of the North African countries would accept them. I think something like 40% of the Asian Confederation didn't even recognize Israel's... Right,
you know how we could switch it up?
Relations. Yeah.
We could switch it up. Israel could compete in all of the bomb craters that they've done in all the Asian countries. So we got Qatar.
Yeah. I like
that. There's some big holes that are kind of stadium shaped already, you know.
I like that. I think that's a really good idea. It's a funny one because I think one of the big arguments that Arab nationalists and people who are slightly to the left of me, which isn't a huge amount of people in this country, but around the world, a lot of people argue is that, well, if Russia can't compete in international soccer, neither can Israel. The get around there is Russia invaded a fellow confederation member, UEFA member, whereas Israel's just brutalizing people within, contested borders. But the solution there was to allow Israel to compete as part of Europe. So maybe Russia should be allowed to compete as Asia, given that 50% of it or more is in Asia.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
don't think either of them should be allowed to compete. I think if you're in the act of invading another FIFA member, you've probably forfeited your right to play ball. And I would have extended that to our people during the Iraq War, because it was an illegal war, right? I think if you're breaking international law at such a grand scale, maybe you should sit out the playtime. But call me a pacifist. Call me a pussy.
I do kind of miss... Russia was this weird... I mean, it hasn't happened for a while, but I remember, I want to say it was the 2010 World Cup where Andrei Arshavin kind of shined. I got a soft spot for Russia. I was I started following, a little bit of, Lokomotiv, CSK, Moscow, and I was kind of this is, a fun, punchy league. There's something kind of, exciting about it. They also... the Ukrainian league as well with like Shakhtar and what is it, Dynamo. But yeah, it's just, obviously much different circumstances now.
I befriended some Russian hooligans at the 2014 World Cup, which I was covering as a journalist, right? But I was doing that kind of gonzo thing of not going to press conferences and rolling with fans and tickets outs and that kind of stuff. They were... one of them was okay, but the others were deranged racists, but they were like super friendly and they were obsessed with British soccer. And as in my capacity as a journalist, I had to party with them, right? And so I've got all this I've got all these like Zenit St. Petersburg and Spartak Moscow, like baseball caps. The Zenit one's fantastic. It's really cool. But I've had to retire them in the short term because I can't really be seen out in them. I have some fond memories of visiting Russia, at risk of sounding like Matt Taibbi. In sort of like 2007, I think it was 2007, I spent about a week there. England were playing Russia in a qualifier, and I had some friends who were living and working there. So this is just before Putin went mad. I mean, he was always a psycho, but just before he started invading everyone. Yeah. They were building up this cult of personality around him. You could see it. I bought a Putin the Great Zippo from Red Square, which I sadly lost. So we knew something was up, and it was a little unpleasant, but it was still nominally free. It was still kind of had that Yeltsin vibe of like amusing chaos around it. And we had a great time, but we kind of knew that.
Well, you're famously a lush too.
Allegedly. I was a single man. What can I say?
I've been to Moscow because one time before they got banned as an airline, I flew Aeroflot.
I flew Aeroflot. It was sick.
I flew it to LA to Moscow, Moscow to Prague. And they let you go into the airport and you had to go to this wing of like, you're not allowed in Russia wing. And every single piece of merch, like everything for sale was like Putin on the back of like a bear, or like Trump and Putin like shaking hands on top of like a pile of money. Like these really like almost like Cash Money CD cover kind of like Photoshop jobs, but just like promoting Putin and Trump being like big homies and stuff like that.
But it was pretty interesting. Satirical. It almost looks satirical. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, so I do have a little bit of all of my friends in who were in Moscow then have since fled, whether they're Russian or British or American or whatever. It's no place for any kind of dissent or deviation from the norm. But yeah, no, I had a bit of a soft spot for them too. I mean, kind of always liked Russia, just generally Russian literature. Don't like the food. Yeah. The food's disgusting.
Well, I definitely have like a soft spot for kind of like the post-Soviet / Cold War. Like, I loved all the John le Carre novels and things like that. I want to switch it up though because I feel like we haven't chimed in with the Hermanos a little bit. Guys, what was your weekend like? I saw that Tottenham took an L. Can you guys just elaborate on that? Did you guys go down to Bournemouth?
No, we went to Aston. No, they came to our house. They were at our house?
I think you guys were.
Yeah, they were playing at home.
Yeah, they were at home.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's we don't have enough creative. We don't have anything creative in the midfield to just progress.
I don't even want to say it's that.
Having Bentancur and having Palini in the back is not gonna. I don't know. Like we're strong. I don't know. It's just not. We're not.
Madison's out for the season, right?
Yeah, he's pretty much gone. Kulu should be back mid-December.
That's a huge gap in your guys' team.
But also, like, I feel like every fucking team that plays inspired. Because that shot by Morgan Rogers was ridiculous. Like, what do you want the goalie to do? Like, everyone becomes like a Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo playing against Tottenham. Like, it's crazy. Like, everyone's stats go up. Like, it's fucking nuts, dude. I'm like, dude, what do you want?
It's anti-Semitism, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's rife in the UK right now.
Yeah. Kind of got Birmingham.
I'm wondering, what do you guys think is going on with Xavi Simons? Because like when we pulled Eze from you guys, and I really thought like that transfer season was done for you guys, and then you pulled Xavi, and I was like, I might like Xavi more than Eze in some ways, and then
Xavi's not playing. He's not playing.
He's not playing where he should be.
Where he should be. They're putting him on the wing, and it's just like.
But isn't that what he played at? Where was he? Leipzig.
I mean, he's I mean, he can play these positions, but I feel like when you want to maximize anybody and you're like deficient in any position, you should probably put in there. Frank likes to. I mean, there's that thing, right? Ange was just like, we're gonna play one style only, and that's it. When people are upset about that, there's no flexibility there. Now, Frank's like way too flexible, and he changes shit all the time, and it's just like I prefer that kind of style of coaching, but it's going to come with its, like, what could you have done different always at the end of a game? It's like, oh, what you should have done this and should have done that. We all have an opinion about it, and we don't know at the end of the day.
He's also, because remember, he didn't play the first 3 games, and we're 8 games in, right? So 5 games to adapt to a new, more physical league.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
He's a smaller guy too.
Look who he's playing with, right? Like,
Speaking of Ange, anybody can chime in on this. What do you guys think? What do you think happened at Nottingham?
I think he was a moron going into that position anyways.
Yeah, it was too. It just was. I think his ego was just like, I need another shot at the Prem because of what happened at Tottenham, and it was just not a good. Anyone could see the writing on the wall. That was like, what are you doing? Like, why would you go there?
Going into the summer, Nottingham was such a strong side. What did they finish, 5th or
7th? I think it was in the end.
7th, okay,
yeah, something like that.
No, Marinakis is a madman. He controls that club like with the 9 fist. It's whatever he wants.
It's the whole Jerry Jones situation for Dallas Cowboys, right? You have an owner that oversteps his. He's like, oh well, I own them, so I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
doesn't mean you know ball.
I think there was a moment last season when I think Forest was still like 3rd or 4th at the time. I can't remember the exact incident. It involved one of the players.
Nuno and Mariakis got on the field and they started yelling at each other.
Yeah, because there was an injured player who was still on the pitch. Nuno's medical team didn't pick up on it. They sent him back out. Then he got more injured. I mean, it was like a bit of a weird. There was some weird farce about basically subbing off an injured player, and they didn't do it. There was a miscommunication between the medical staff and the technical staff. But instead of just chalking it up as like, oh, these things happen, Marinakis went on the pitch, and obviously he takes up a lot of real estate, so it was clear on camera, and berated Nuno in front of everyone. And I think that just broke the relationship.
100%, dude.
Yeah, so
to come down from your press, from your box, to come down and yell at somebody?
Yeah, to get dressed down in front of, like, that's insane. Like, there's not, like, there isn't cameras there or something to catch that. And it was getting replayed, like, after the fact, too. Like,
I think there was a moment last year or the year before where they went after him because he was using, like, an iPhone 10 or something. Like, he's, like, a billionaire, and he still had, like, an iPhone. There was some big make fun of that guy, besides him being a large gentleman. A hefty boy. Because
did you see this year they made a Tifu of him carrying a big sack of money, and they got banned from doing stuff like that because it hurt his feelings.
Well, it's hard at the top. It's lonely.
I think he's like being kind of surreptitiously accused, allegedly, of being involved in the drug trade.
Well, yeah, that's what it was.
He's a shipping dude, and like,
is he Greek?
Yeah, he's Greek.
Yeah.
It was a sack of money, and then he had a gun pointing at Morgan Gibbs White to sign a contract. That was the Tifu. I was like, shit, that's pretty good.
That's a little extreme. You might call that.
Yeah, I think he was a bit butthurt because he read that as an implication that he's some kind of criminal. But I think it was much more literal than that. I think.
Reda, speaking of the Greeks, and he's probably a Cypriot. If we really do some digging, just because they seem shadier, right? Don't the Cypriots seem like a shadier branch of the Greeks? I wanted to ask you something. Right now I'm looking over at the early games on today's Champions League, and we have Galatasaray 3-1 to Bodo Glimt. Victor Osimhen, he's got a brace already.
Wow.
Sweet.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask, I think this is kind of a gray area for almost every American fan. I think we understand the Bundesliga, we understand La Liga, we understand Serie A, we understand Eredivisie to some extent, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense to us. It's kind of a graduated Jupiter. But what is going on in Turkey? I mean, it seems like every time I see a Turkish game, it seems like an absolute like everybody could leave the stadium and just take over another country, right? Like the passion and I mean, what's it like over there?
So it's weird. I'm actually part Turkish, like most Egyptians, but I've never been. However, I have a lot of Turkish friends. The area of London I live in is basically Istanbul. The area of London I used to live in is basically Istanbul, Alston. It's kind of a heavily Turkish neighbourhood, and we have like social clubs around the teams. There's like a Galatasaray one, a Besiktas one, a Trabzonspor one, just like in our neighbourhood where you can go and play snooker and get attacked with a pool cue by a taxi driver. So it's a weird. So obviously Turkey's a huge football country, huge football nation. They have pretty good youth training. Everyone plays. Everyone's really passionate about the sport. But they only really have a handful of big clubs that we would call big clubs in the sort of traditional sense of the word. But those clubs are massive. And there is a kind of political, cultural thing around who you support in the same way there is in Cairo or in Glasgow. So like Galatasaray are more working class, but also a bit more authoritarian mindset fans. So they're super nationalistic, really patriotic, a little bit Islamist.
So Erdogan is a Galatasaray.
Yeah, although a lot of the Galatasaray fans, actually, I don't know if Erdogan is Galatasaray or not, but I think he might be. But certainly, traditionally, their fans would support that movement. Although a lot of them have turned against him over the last few years. Besiktas is much more like upper middle class. Fenerbahce also a little bit more sort of urbane, metropolitan. The club supporters, supporting your club is partly class based, partly political. It's passed down through families, extremely violent hooligans, deranged atmosphere, welcome to hell, obviously everyone knows about that. So imagine like an Italian or Spanish rivalry, but on really, really heavy meth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of vibe. But then if you go down to some of the smaller clubs, some of them will struggle to get 1,000 people. So it's there's quite the divide, and the strength of the Turkish league is almost directly proportional to whether billionaires and corporations can be bothered to invest in teams that year. So when the Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Besiktas, one of the other Istanbul teams had some serious investment recently as well, I think. When that happens, then the teams become quite powerful and strong, and they can progress quite far in European competition, and they can pull results like that out of the bag. Then, whether it's because of the economics of the situation or those billionaires have got another toy to play with, it can equally drop to quite a poor level quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the consistency of quality and success that like the sort of Western and Northern European leagues have.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think Americans understand Turkey. Like, I think it's almost like it's such a bizarre, it's Asian, but they're European.
A lot of Europeans
Muslim.
don't really understand it. A lot of Europeans just don't like it's.
Like, we just don't even think of it. Like, if somebody is like, hey, I'm Turkish, I think most Americans go, what are you talking about?
I'm going to chime in and be like, yeah, it's a place where I get hair transplants, and that's about it.
Yeah, we're all going. We're all going to get hair transplants this year.
I'll see that.
Reda, you're invited.
I refuse. I like being bald. Dollar store right. Andrew Tate. I just keep it.
We know you're a big fan of the Tate brothers. You probably know them just from the social clubs. I have a quick question. Hypothetical.
Yeah.
Somebody's volume is up. We're going to echo. But let's say you are a 33-year-old kind of on the decline of a good career in the Premier League, and you have the option of going to Portugal or Turkey. Where are you going?
Personally, Portugal, because I love it.
Uh-huh.
But that's just a personal thing. You'd get more money in Turkey. If you went to play for Galatasaray or Fenerbahce, maybe even Besiktas, you'd probably be able to make like 200 grand a week if you were sick. Whereas that money isn't an offer in Portugal. But the Portuguese league is there's a little bit more depth to it, and there's more consistency to the top teams. And Portugal's just a really nice country.
Why did Osimhen go from Napoli to? Was it a money move? I mean, he seemed to be in the prime.
Yeah, he had to leave Napoli. He'd fallen out with the Mercurial owners and the club generally. He wanted out, but I don't think anyone else was willing to pay the salary or fee that he was commanding. I don't think it was as simple as that. I was surprised, but I'm not a scout, so I don't know what he's like to work with. I get the impression he's kind of difficult, and the top English clubs weren't particularly interested in taking such a high value risk on someone who may be a bit difficult. I think it's kind of one of the reasons why Tony had to go to Saudi Arabia as well. I think he's got a bit of a reputation for being harder to work with, or a bit mercurial, and obviously he's got his gambling issues.
Who's the guy that fucked his teammate's wife from Italy? The Argentinian? I can't remember his name. Yeah. Icardi is. Yeah. He's in Turkey now, right?
Yeah, he can't fuck anyone's wife there. The Italians are quite relaxed about that sort of thing. My guys aren't. But but you know.
He's not going to be able to do throw-ins if he does that, you know?
No, fuck it up. No, Turkey's a bit more open than that. But yeah, I think they just a finger.
Well,
the offending finger.
I think Rudy raised his hand. Rudy, did you have something you wanted?
Yeah, Reda, I want to ask you a question. The World Cup's coming to this side of the world, and there's a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to this administration and the price of everything and the visa stuff. So it just doesn't. It feels like, you know, like the Qatari thing of like, you know, should we boycott it, not go? There's early kind of talks about maybe boycotting this. I'm just curious what you think about if this World Cup is going to be successful, like most other World Cups when they come to countries that are, you know, there's stuff going on or whatever. So that's kind of my question. What do you think about the World Cup coming here, and if it's going to be a successful thing or a bad thing for FIFA, for the sport in general?
I want to be careful not to bite a hand that may feed me in the next couple of years. But I'm going to really go in hard on US soccer and Major League Soccer. I think they've done a really poor job since 2016. They are, on both sides, just aren't really organising an elite system for soccer. And you can pay as many washed up European and South American pros as much money as you want to sell jerseys to our friends in Miami. But the reality is it's not a competitive league, it's not producing the best players, and I don't think it has the same level of interest as it did 10 years ago. So I'm going to compare the two Copa Americas that have been hosted here in the last 10 years, right? You had the one in 2016 and the one last year. The one in 2016 was great. It was a party. It was really exciting. It was loads of fun. Everyone had a really, really good time. The quality was good. There was a genuine buzz around it. And it was, you know, it wasn't hard to get tickets, but it wasn't easy. The last Copa America was an absolute shit show. I mean, playing games in Kansas City or whatever the hell it was, fainting assistant referees, people like bum rushing the stadium, and there was no enthusiasm for it, man. There was no enthusiasm for it. I think you might have hit peak soccer about a decade ago here. I think some of it's also linked to how successful the national team is, because you'll love winners, and the men's national team's not on an upward curve. But yeah, so that's one thing. Secondly, I think the big problem you've got here is FIFA have got on the Ticketmaster price gouging. Saw that with the Club World Cup, an absolute mess of trying to artificially manage supply and demand to keep ticket prices high, and then releasing new tickets as soon as the price looks like it's going to drop, like a scam, ticketing scam, basically. And fans do not like that. And it's expensive enough to come to the United States anyway. The prices now are very different to how they were 8-9 years ago.
You also might get turned away, you know?
Well, my cousin and his friends refused visas.
Already?
Visas. No, for the Club World Cup. For the Club World
Cup. The Club World Cup.
They were refused visas, so they had to give me their tickets to pass on to France. I went to a few games on their behalf, and my boys in Miami went into Miami Ahly game. These guys are like highly paid professionals who work in like Saudi and Qatar and places like that in like oil and gas. They're not going to overstay their tourist visa and like do Uber Eats. And they've got the record of traveling following the Egypt national team all over the world. They have like contracts with like oil firms or whatever. These are like upper middle class English speaking Egyptian people. I think the reason they would, so there's a problem with applying for visas for the US in that there's not a lot of flexibility about certain things. So because there's this trend of embassy shopping where people apply for either travel, business, or student visas to the United States from embassies where they know there's a shorter waiting list. So now if you don't apply from the embassy of your country of origin, they'll often automatically reject it. But a lot of fans, particularly of clubs from developing countries, or teams from developing countries, can afford to come to the United States don't live in their country. They live in Canada or somewhere in Europe or in Saudi or in the Emirates, right? Because they're making money. They can afford to fly to Russia or fly to South Africa or fly to the United States for a football match. So that's going to be really problematic, I think. A lot of people are going to be accused of visa shopping. I can't remember if Iran have qualified or not.
I think they have. I think they're one of the only.
I think they have.
All of the Muslim African countries, all of the North African countries have qualified. Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, all in straight away.
Yes,
that's going to be problematic. I think a lot of people are going to be refused entry, or they're going to make it complicated for them. And there isn't the flexibility that other countries have. Like, for example, when I went to Russia in 2007, they had a really complicated system where in order to get a tourist visa, you had to have a letter either from a friend or whatever residence or hotel you were staying at confirming that's where you were staying. And it was a real pain in the ass to get. You had to queue up at the Russian embassy to get that approved and stamped, all this kind of nonsense. So they waived it. They basically said, if you've got a match ticket, that's a visa. It's a temporary visa, so that the England fans could come in. Obviously, that wouldn't happen now. It would be much more difficult now. But so I think it's going to be messy. Well, we've had World Cups in Russia and Qatar, which have been in worse states of kind of societal repression than the United States currently. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I think a lot of people they're not confident that they'll be treated right on the way in. You know, if you go to, say, a true authoritarian country like Qatar or Russia to support your national football team, there'll be like a police guard at the stadium and that kind of stuff. Whereas the US is a bit more chaotic, and I think people are worried they'll be like detained at immigration, or they'll spend all this money and then they'll be turned away, or there'll be an ICE raid at their game, because it is chaotic. It's not orderly. But yeah, I think it's going to suck, mostly because the tickets are too expensive.
I mean, look,
you've got to fix that.
Ideally, right? Like I'm probably going to be a big hypocrite because I'm going to be looking for tickets that are $60, which are probably going to be there, and I'm probably going to go. I wouldn't want to. Like, I'm not saying like I'm going to be happy about it, but also I've never been to a World Cup game, so.
I chose not to go to. I mean, at the time I was working in boxing, so I wasn't sent by work. But I chose not to go to Russia and Qatar as a fan, and I've been to most of the other World Cups and European Championships since I've been like an adult and having my own money and stuff like that. If I was a fan, if I was still in the UK, I would probably come to this tournament. I'd go to New York and hang out with my friends in New York and go to a game or two. As it stands, living here, at the moment, I'm not working in soccer. If I am working in soccer or have access to free tickets, of course, I'll take them. I think going to matches, I've been to worse. I've been to games in Egypt, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a military dictatorship.
Yeah.
So, you know, I probably would if they were affordable, but I'm not going to be gouged like $500 to go to a group game.
That's $500 is a deal.
Like Slovakia, like, come on.
Yeah, it's all the stuff that's happening is really scammy. There's like the RTB, like the it's like a crypto coin to get
like
tickets.
It's like the FIFA video gamification, like where you have to get like your what do you call those, the packs or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the FIFA packs.
Yeah.
It feels like that. Like they keep on sending me that email where it's like, get your RTB and have a chance, and it's like, go fuck yourselves. The crypto thing, I'm so glad the crypto and football thing died, even though they're still going to try, because you know every single scammer that was, you know, on the run just got pardoned by Trump, and they're back at full mast. But
it died because in the real world, and the real world is, in terms of sports and soccer, is European, Turkish and South American dudes in their mid-40s to mid-50s. They're the people that go to games and buy tickets, right? Or maybe a bit younger, but depends where you are. They don't give a shit about crypto.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
And I mean, Andy and I, we've both worked in sports crypto or adjacent to it, right? I worked in it for about 6 months. Perfectly nice people at the business, you know, idealists, whatever. But English soccer fans, Premier League fans, hostile to the point where most of the clubs had to be like, we can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a scam. They're stealing our data. Who are these criminals? Money laundering. God save the Queen. Do you know what I mean? That kind of like irrational love of the fiat currency, which I think is quaint and hilarious. But yeah, they didn't see any value or utility in a really slow app.
What if we put together a Tommy Robinson coin. Would that work?
Is
that his name? What's that? What's
Tommy
the white
Robinson?
national? Yeah, we do a Tommy Robinson coin.
Or Stephen Yaxley Lennon, as his real name is, but that's too Irish, so he changed it to Tommy Robinson.
Kind of Irish Jewish, kind of a little crossover.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
We've spoken plenty about the dire state of the American empire, praying it collapses soon. But I know, Juan, I know you're doing well in Florida, but maybe you guys can succeed.
Yeah, dude. I get to carry a gun anywhere I will go now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a huge benefit. My wife won't let me get one.
Well, you can't actually get one in New York City.
You
have
can
to
get a
special
concealed carry.
license.
Yeah, I'd get the.
I can go to McDonald's with my handgun now. You know what I mean?
God bless America.
God bless.
God bless.
God bless.
Although
it's
one
like
has to ask, why would you need to do that?
Someone wants my nuggets. You know?
Somebody wants to steal your Rick and Morty sauce. What are you guys excited about? Because we need to wrap this up. What are you guys excited about in this coming hours, coming days, football-wise?
I'm waiting for Tottenham in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't shit the bed, but I don't think they will.
Versus
Monaco.
That'll be fun. I missed all the games yesterday. I was in bed sick.
You're ridiculous.
And so I didn't watch anything. So I'm going to try
to catch up today. I think the stat was there was 40 goals within 20 minutes or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think some of what was it? The PSG game was 7-1,
6-2.
7-2. Yeah. I mean
6-2.
PSV versus Napoli too, shit the bed. 6-2 as well. Barcelona destroyed
Olympiacos.
I don't even know who they were playing.
It was Olympiacos. I think it was
Olympiacos. The young 17-year-olds, the 4 young 17-year-olds that they put in were ridiculous. I was like, great. More talent from them.
Yeah,
so you're excited.
We're excited about.
You're excited about the AS Monaco, Tottenham.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think you're gonna have much trouble there. I feel like Monaco has kind of not been in the picture for a long time. Are you paying attention, Reda, to the UCL? Are you chimed in, or do you give a shit?
The UCL, the European, sorry, the
UEFA Champions League.
That's so quaint that you call it by its brand name. The Champions. Oh no, I watch all the games all the time.
Yeah.
I'm one of these losers that watches. I watched an FC Gotham game the other day. Right, I watch everything. Yeah,
that's our women's team. They're allowed to play football up here.
I'm making a face, but I saw Christian Press's retirement game the other day.
Well, this is what we do. But I'm more excited in the next month or so. The Cup qualifiers for Europe wrap up, and there's a really interesting one, which for purely selfish reasons might be my route to free tickets at the World Cup, which is Belgium are probably going to win their group now, but second place is up for grabs. It comes down to the last game, Wales v North Macedonia. My wife is North Macedonian. Her brother used to play. He's friends with all the ex-players and the FA guys. We get tickets for basically any Macedonian player or team that's playing anywhere. And if they beat Wales, I think if they draw, they just have to not lose to Wales in the last game, they will get the playoff place. And they've got a pretty good chance of, if they don't bottle it, they've got a pretty good chance of qualifying for the World Cup, because I think they'll be seeded because of their performance in the Nations League or something, so they'll play someone less strong. So I'm pretty excited about that, because it's a small country of 2 million flat-headed, chibapi-eating, non-Turkish people.
Sweet, guys. Do you hear that? We got free Macedonia tickets.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Well, didn't Macedonia have to change
Great country.
Didn't Macedonia, weren't they forced basically at gunpoint to change their name to the North Macedonians?
Yeah, I think the Nottingham Forest owner threatened to eat them if they didn't. There's this revanchist movement in nationalist quarters in Greece to claim that... So Macedonia, the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, of Alexander the Great fame, spun like a huge region from, like, I think where Albania is now, or Bulgaria, all the way into what is midway into modern contemporary Greece. And after the breakup of the former Yugoslavia, the part of Yugoslavia that still spoke Macedonian, the old Slavonic language, named itself Macedonia because they were ethnic Macedonians. But there's ethnic Macedonians in Greece up to Thessaloniki, and there's also ethnic Macedonians in like Albania and Bulgaria and places like that. So Greek nationalists essentially want it to be illegal to call yourself Macedonia because they genuinely are worried that all these Albanian type people will then just take over Greece. It's kind of insane. It would be like the British refusing to accept the Brittany region of France as being called Brittany because it kind of sounds like it's foolish. That's an oversimplification. But yeah, the Greeks basically refused to allow them to apply for adjunct membership of the EU or NATO unless they changed their name. Super petty. So they eventually did a deal to call themselves North Macedonia instead of Macedonia. And then Emmanuel Macron promptly vetoed Macedonia's proposal to accede into the EU. Because after Brexit, a lot of governments were scared that anti-EU movements would start up if they let in more Eastern Europeans. Yeah, so it was completely pointless. They should have just stuck with Macedonia.
I'm kind of jealous of those places. Like America doesn't have any of that, where there's like Americans that are like enough Americans living in Canada where we can kind of like stir up Ontario politics all over Europe, especially Eastern European, and especially the former Yugoslavia. It'll be like Slovenians that are like expatriated living in Hungary, and that like they have a large enough ethnic group that they're like causing trouble there. We don't have any of that.
Give it a couple of months.
Interests. You do it for your corporate interests, but then, sorry.
Yeah, we do. We do it for some of our football teams and some of our defending billionaires. That's a big new American
corporations
diaspora.
Are people, so it's fine.
Yeah. I am excited to watch these games coming up. I've been a little tuned out. I'm going to be honest, this is very out of character, but the Mariners were in the ALCS championship.
What a good game. What a good game that was.
I'm not a baseball fan. I was scared of the ball when I was playing as a kid. Because if you get hit by those things, actually awful. It's really just almost deadly. But I have a special place in my heart for Seattle things because I'm from there. So I watched a bunch of baseball and I'm back. I've stopped that. One fun thing though is that because Toronto won, the World Series game 1 and 2 are in Toronto, where I have gigs this weekend at the same time as the games. Whoa. So I will probably not be doing comedy. I'll probably be performing to just a room of empty seats and hopefully breaking even. So I'm really excited about that. That's pretty exciting. But I might, what might be fun is I might go to the Arsenal Supporters Club in Toronto and catch a game with all those Canucks. This is Absolute Worldy. I'm Andy Haynes. It's been great to chat with you, Reda. Thank you so much for coming on. I think you're one of those people that has enough of a professional pedigree where people don't have to be sent to your socials. Where can people find your work?
I deleted all of my social media.
Good for you.
Because I've not been an actual journalist for a few years. I've been in the sort of management, marketing, fake suit bullshit side of the business for about 6 or 7 years. So I'm done with social media.
Okay.
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. He's very active on LinkedIn, and also you can find
Telegram. You can find me on Telegram.
Bushwick bar bathrooms too.
Yeah. Usually with the runs.
Yeah, causing trouble. Hermanos FC. Cheese. Yeah, well, our food is poison. Hermanos FC on TikTok and YouTube, and then Rudy Crown. Juan, do you have your own social that you plug, or no? I didn't think so. This has been Absolute Worldy. We'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate all of the support, especially on TikTok. That's been pretty cool. And I also want to say just to the world that Miss Rachel did follow me this week. So just outside of everything involved here, I am friends with Miss Rachel now, and we're probably gonna hang out. Anyways, thank you guys for watching.
Hell yeah.